Hello and welcome to Digital Diamond Baseball's video tutorial on how to use the draft feature. Before we start doing the draft, we're going to want to come in here and clean up some things so that the library is draft ready. When you do a draft, and if you're doing it from an existing real-life season replay, first thing you want to do is get the as-played lineups out of the schedule. These just don't make sense anymore once you start putting the players on different teams. We don't want any as-played lineups. The next thing is transactions. They should be deleted from the library. The next thing you're going to want to do is go over to the library options and double check your playing time limits. When you have a library that is replaying a season with transactions and as-played lineups, it's important for your usage limits to be greedy. You want the computer manager to try and get everybody their playing time as quickly as possible because they're going to get deactivated at some point if they get traded or injured or something. And if you just kind of slowly get that usage in, you're going to fall short because when they get deactivated, that you won't be able to use them. So anytime you have as-played lineups and transactions, you want to use something called greedy for your usage. However, if it's a draft library where there are no transactions and there are no as-played lineups, then your player usage should be gotten gradually throughout the season. You don't want all of the usage to happen early and then have the players sit healthy on your bench the rest of the season. So make sure this is set distributed in your draft library. Okay, once you have those things taken care of, you're all set to run a draft. I'm going to click on the hammer and hop over to the draft page. And we're going to start a new draft. Okay, let's combine all the duplicate player records. This takes players that have played, the same player who's played on more than one team, and combines all their stats into one record, and that's the record that we'll draft. Then we're going to release the players to the free agent pool and activate them. Once this is done, we'll be ready to start the draft. Okay, in this draft, you've got to pick your round number. You can probably get away with 25 rounds using the new version 9 draft algorithm, but it's still going to be tight. You won't have a lot of managerial choices, so you really should have at least 30. And if you can go more is better. If you don't want to pick the whole draft, the system allows you to, at a certain point, skip it and let the manager finish. So you can do the first 10 or 20 rounds and let the computer manager finish the remainder of the rounds. Okay, you can move the draft order here by using the up and down buttons and toggle a manager to do human or computer. So I'll pick second in this draft. And then I'm going to make it so that the draft snakes. That means that if I picked first in the one round, I'm going to pick last in the next round and so on. The draft order will reverse each round. Okay, we'll click OK and set up the draft. All right, the computer is going to make the first pick. I'll click on Draft Player, and I'll choose Draft the Current Pick. And sure enough, we've got a pick. Very good, and a good pick indeed. It's now my pick, and I'm going to ask the scouts who to choose. And their recommendation is Alex Bregman, so let's draft him. So we type the first few letters of his last name. Wait a second, and it looks up players that make that match, and we will draft that player. Okay, now we have the rest of the round here, and I am not going to do this any longer. We're going to zip through this, so I'll choose draft player until the round is over and let the computer make all the picks. So this round will go through, and even if there are human picks here, it'll zip through them. Okay, in this case, the draft round is now reversed. And I'm now picking second to last because of the snaking. Now that we're in the second round, just important to notice that you can jump between rounds by doing back and forward. In addition, it's helpful to have some information when you're making your picks. You don't want to ask the scouts all the time. You might want to know who you have and who's out there and so on. And you can gather that information by going to the reports. There's some really useful reports when you're doing drafts. And the first is the list of free agents. You click on this list and if you choose a position, it'll show you all the available players currently in the free agents who play that position. And then you can sort them in various ways and try to figure out who you want. If you can't remember who's on your roster and you want to know what it is you need, you can pick your team and go to the team roster. And this shows you the players you currently have. And I've only got one so far. But as you go, this will start to fill in. And this report is very helpful to let you know where you're coming up short and what kind of players you need to be drafting. So once you use these two reports and you're ready to make your pick, you can hop back on over to the draft page and make that pick. All right, I'm not going to make any more picks. I'm just going to zip through to the end of the draft by choosing Draft Players, Draft Until the Draft is Over. This will skip over all the human picks, and the computer will make all the picks for you. All right, we'll be back when this draft is over. Okay, the draft is finished. Everybody has their players, and the next step is to go to the Manager Profiles. If any of these profiles were set to not be managed by the computer but have specific lineups in them, none of those are going to work because the team players are all mixed up. It's always good after a draft to reset all of the profiles to default to make sure that there aren't any lists of players in there that don't make sense. And then you can come back in and arrange a special manager profile for your team if you like. Because there's no transactions in this library, this is a good case for where you might want to pick your own players instead of letting the computer manage it. You don't have to worry about players becoming traded or deactivated. Okay, at this time, your rosters are set, the draft is over, and you're ready to have a lot of fun. Cheers.